Hey guys! Today we are going to talk about a topic that comes up quite a bit whenever people reach out to me with questions for voiceover. And that question is having to do with some of you guys having anxieties as to when you do start booking clients, how do you know and make sure that they're going to pay you for your services? It's a very legitimate concern, and let me give you some of my personal insight into how I navigate those things and what my experiences have been. So I'll say one of the benefits of using pay-to-play platforms or working with an agent is they have a much more reliable track record to make sure that you get paid, especially with the platforms. A lot of the people who are requesting services on platforms are forced to put in their credit card information so they can't stiff you. That being said, if you do have people reach out to you because they found you online or they found you via social media, or if you're reaching out to do your own self-marketing and then someone takes the bait and offers you a job, what are you going to do to make sure that you're making, sure all of your bases are covered? In the 10 years that I have been a voice actor, I have only ever been stiffed one time. I've done thousands of projects, and I've only not been paid once. And even in that situation, the client reached out to me and told me that they weren't going to be able to pay me because their client stiffed them. Therefore, they weren't going to dig into their own pockets to pay me. I understand it, although I think it's a bad business practice. At least they told me. I made note to never work with them again in my own file, and that was it. Other than that, I've always been paid, so there's not a lot of people trying to scam a bunch of voice actors out there online. Another reason why I've never been scammed might be with the way that I vet clients and navigate those situations. So I'm going to show you a real-life example of someone who's reached out to me recently. So I received 2 days ago an email from Moonlance.online. The title of this was called Voiceover Proposal. That is the title of an email that I would listen to. Oftentimes I get tons of emails from new platforms popping up asking me to open up a portfolio or open up a profile on their website to offer my services and all of that stuff. 100% of the time, I ignore those. There's other platforms that are fully established that I could go get work on if that's the direction I wanted to go. And there's no incentive for me to try out new platforms when chances are very high that they are not going to survive in the market. It's very difficult for platforms to be successful in the market and to stand the test of time. On top of that, whenever it comes to platforms, especially new platforms, you're going to be pressured to undercut your own prices in the market to be competitive because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to be competitive, and one of the ways to be competitive is to give a competitive rate. So I've been in this game long enough that there's no need for me to be undercutting my prices like that. So I ignore all of those. I also ignore all social media opportunities when people reach out to me asking for me to do influencer type work that has nothing to do with voice acting. So oftentimes people will ask me to review their clothing or makeup or something like that. I don't know why they're reaching out to me. That is not my platform. I do voice acting, therefore I don't trust it. I don't want to do it, so I ignore it. So back to the email. So this is a email title that I would likely open. Let's go ahead and read it. Welcome, Moonlance Freelancing Company. So they have a typo. That could just be a typo, or it could mean that they're a foreign company where freelancing reaches new heights. We've heard through the grapevine Instagram that you're an outstanding voice artist and we're eager to explore your talents. Yes, I am on Instagram, so that could be how they're found me. Finding voice actors. This is obviously not a personalized email just for me. Nobody found me and decided to reach out to me specifically. They're obviously sending this pre-written email to any voice actors that they find that they might want to bring into their services. We're currently embarking on a groundbreaking English project spanning 50 pages. Again, they specified English projects. I'm going to guess that this is a foreign company spanning 50 pages. Raises some question marks in the industry. I would expect them to know that we don't typically measure projects in the number of pages, with the exception of very few types of projects. Most of them are measured in word count whenever you're working directly with a voice actor, or they're measured in the amount of circulation that, like, let's say a commercial spot is going to get, or the usage rights that are needed. So that also raises some question marks. We believe your expertise is blah, 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 needed. Compensation stands out at $5,000. They put the $ after the number, so I'm more inclined to think that this is a foreign company. They used the US dollar symbol, so they didn't use the pound symbol or the euro, but $5,000 for 50 pages of work. If this was an audiobook project, $5,000 is way over what you would actually expect, so that would raise some red flags. If this is for maybe like a corporate narration or something like that, then perhaps that would make sense with a bit of room for negotiation. Okay, that's interesting. And how many projects do they have that pay $5,000 for them to be able to put that exact price and a 50-page project for a generalized email that they're sending out? That's curious. We're on the lookout for voice artists to collaborate with a management company on documentaries, narrative stories, and poetry projects. Okay, documentaries. I'm pretty sure TV narration does often measure things in terms of pages, and that's like one of the only types of voice-over projects that you might measure in pages. But they also lumped in poetry projects, which, when was the last time that poetry made anybody any money? So that's curious. Your role, simply deliver your magic in audiobook format. Okay, so this is an audiobook, or this is a documentary, or I don't get it. While the company takes care of filming and animations. Is it an audiobook, or is this film and animation? We're confident that talent like yours is exactly what we're looking for upon completion of your work. If the company is impressed, we'll keep you in mind for future projects. That's also, I'm like, whatever about that. I'm not a fan whenever clients are, you know, kind of fishing for the potential of future work before you've even worked with them once. For details and a swift connection, contact us via Telegram. That is also a red flag for me. In the US, we don't do that. We don't reach out to people via Telegram or WhatsApp or anything like that. So I'm going to say that this is a foreign company, because that would be the only type of client that I expect to think that Telegram is a business-appropriate form of communication. With all of that in mind, there's no harm in reaching out and seeing what's up with this. This is, I'm guessing, a foreign company, so that might give them some leeway in the way that they reached out, in the way that they're preferring to communicate, and in the way that they've structured that whole email. So let's go ahead and see how the conversation went. Okay, so I reached out via Telegram to Marie. I said, "Hey Marie, I'm a voice actor. I got your email about some upcoming work." And she said, "Great to have you here," and immediately sent me a pre-typed response of, "Welcome to the freelancing company. I'm the project director. Give me some answers to these generic questions." And I thought, I don't know anything about your company, so I don't know whether or not I actually want to work with you or not. So I went ahead and I went to look up their website, and they do have a website, which is good news. It looks like it's a freelancing website, so I'm wondering if they're actually going to ask me to make a profile online. Most search jobs: voiceover, translation, logo design, fast transactions, blah, 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 a bunch of stock footage, but it's a decent website. Find the best freelancing jobs. Work hard, get awarded. Partnership driven, yada, yada, yada. So the first thing I'm thinking is this whole website is freelancer focused. It's not really focused for the client. So for example, if you go to Fiverr, you're going to automatically be kind of seen as the client, where you can go and scroll through the freelancers and all that stuff. I don't see that here. So does that mean that they have a different website that is client facing? Perhaps. Everything seems really generic. I don't care enough to read their whole story or anything like that. They could put whatever they wanted. Recruiting, recruitment, and ramp. Yeah, this is very much freelancer focused. So whatever, it doesn't really give me that much information. Let's go back to the Telegram conversation. So I don't really know anything about them. I don't know if I want to work with them. So I said, I'd love to hear more about the nature of your company. Do you already have a project that needs recording, or is this like a freelance platform to audition for projects? She said, before we begin, I want to tell you a little bit about our company. And then she sent some generic, means nothing, explanation about their company. And then the link to the website, which we already looked at. But then she actually answers me directly, says that they do have projects in different languages and that they would love for me to record them if I'm free. Well, I'm leaning even more towards this being a foreign company and that they have a bunch of different languages that they need projects recorded in. And they want me to record, but they only found me on Instagram. I don't know if they've seen my website. I don't know if they know that I'm legitimate. So I'm just kind of curious as to how eager she is to just go ahead and book me when there hasn't really been any discussion as to whether I'm the right talent for them. But I went ahead and gave them the basic information that they asked for. And then immediately she goes in to say that they don't offer upfront payment because of issues that they've had with unprofessional voice actors in the past, that they will pay after the work is done and completed. And then may I proceed accordingly. That's not unusual. Unless it's an audiobook, which I ask half of the payment up front, I don't expect payment until after services are rendered. So that's not a red flag. But the fact that this is the time that she chose to bring it up instead of talking about things that I would expect them to bring up is what I'm curious about. So I said, yeah, sure. I'd love to see some paperwork about the types of projects you have, what countries your clients are in, the pricing structure and expectation for delivery times. These are things that I would expect a fully fleshed out company to anticipate the conversation leading towards. These are all important details that should be understood and discussed before you book a project. What the pricing structure is, what the scope of the work is, what their revision policy is, what their delivery times are, whether or not they think you're appropriate for their project, how are they going about choosing you for the appropriate projects, and who are their clients. So she says, before you proceed with your application, please ensure that you meet the eligibility criteria for this project. And their criteria is MP3 format. Okay. Project duration 5 days, final payment $5,000. I don't know if that's US or some other currency. Maintain audio quality and narrate 50 pages of an English script. All of that is still kind of strange in the way that she structured that at all. It's important to note that the generous compensation offered is reflective of the high demand for voiceover talent in our industry. Okay, that also means nothing. But then she went ahead and just sent me the script that they need recorded. So, no contract has been signed, really nothing about the service that I would expect has been spoken about, and she just went ahead and sent me the script. So I'm looking at it, and it looks like a 50-page audiobook. I don't know anything about it. And this is what she wants me to record with no audition. They have no idea how I would approach this project. So how are they going to know whether the client's going to like it or not? So I asked if she has a word count. I also said that, okay, this is a large project, $5,000 potentially US. Because it's a large project and our first project together, would they be willing to consider half payment up front? That is what I expect with audiobooks, half payment up front. That's not anything crazy to expect. And obviously they have trust issues with voice actors, like she said, which is why they don't want to pay up front. But I also don't know them, so I don't trust them completely to expect them to pay me $5,000 after the project is done when it's such a large project that isn't going to just take me 30 seconds of my time to record and get over. So she said that she didn't have word count. They only do 100% payment when it's done. And I'm thinking to myself, all of this is kind of fishy, but it could just be unusual for how they're communicating. Communication with foreign clients oftentimes can look like this, very unstructured. So I said, okay, would you be willing to meet with me sometime today so I could get more details about your company, so I can really find out if this is a real person, if this is a legitimate opportunity, how they're structured, how new their company is, because they're obviously not anticipating things like revisions and whatnot. And she said, I'll get back to you on that, which to me is another red flag. I've never had a client even hesitate to meet with me to discuss things, because half the time they're just as concerned about making sure that I'm legitimate. So I would say that to wrap up this whole conversation, I can give you an update if she ever gets back to me, but that is how I'm going to vet all clients in the future. You don't want to be in the mindset of being desperate for work, because then you're going to just be in the mindset of being grateful for anything that they have to offer. You need to really know what you expect from them and know your worth as a talent. If this was a small project, for example, I think I pointed out that I had a Russian client reach out to me. Maybe I didn't. I had a Russian client reach out to me a couple weeks ago, and the whole email was in Russian. And they said that they had worked with me before and needed more work together. I wasn't able to find the work I did with them before, but it could have also been many years ago where I deleted the work from back then. But it was a very short project, so I figured it's going to take me a couple minutes of my time. It's worth the risk. If they don't pay me, it was just a couple minutes of my time. But whenever it comes to things like this, I'm going to move much more slowly to make sure that it's legitimate. So, yeah, that's all I have. Hopefully that kind of helps give you a play-by-play insight into the steps that I'm taking, the things I'm considering, and how to vet people who are reaching out to you. But if you have any other questions, feel free to let me know. See you guys next time.